Welcome to a fresh hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Tommy Tran. Lots to get to, including the NBA playoffs. We'll even sprinkle a little bit of NHL playoffs. NFL draft, of course, is at the forefront of our minds as we're just 3 days away from Green Bay hosting the annual event. It's happening, folks. Green Bay this year, Pittsburgh next year. But first things first, we got to get to the 25 edition. Our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, does not have Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders selected in the first round. He wrote on CBSSports.com, Sanders could be the next Giants rookie quarterback at 3, as they're right below, or he could be a target in the late first or early second rounds like other quarterbacks. So if we take a look at the top 10, only one quarterback was taken in JJ's first round mock, and that's Cam Ward of the Titans at number 1. And he also has the Raiders taking Ashton Jeanty. Here's a look at landing spots for Shedeur Sanders from our other draft analysts. Ryan Wilson, Mike Renner, Chris Trapasso to the Steelers. Pete Prisco says Saints. But once again, JJ highlighted there, outside of round 1. Let's bring in our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, who just got done doing a 1-hour special, but we're going to break it down here again on HQ. So you wrote it, you've talked about it. What do you want to reiterate to some of the people that are looking at the headline or listening and saying, what is going on, JJ?
Yeah, so first of all, I only have one quarterback in the first round of this NFL draft. Obviously, Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. Could the New York Giants at number 3 overall take Shedeur Sanders? Yes. Do I think that they will? I don't. Not if Abdul Carter is staring them right in the face there at number 3. Your next logical spot is number 9 with the New Orleans Saints. And look, there's Derek Carr. We know about the potential for season-ending surgery. Is that actually going to happen? That is a little bit unknown, but there are other needs for the New Orleans Saints. And so there I skip, and I give them Kelvin Banks, an offensive lineman. You continue on down with the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 21. And yes, they met with him, and I know that there are reports that Mike Tomlin is head over heels in love with Shedeur Sanders. Sure. Then there's a report that they could trade back. Sure. And then there's our own eyes that say, well, the Steelers have a couple other needs, and yes, they should feel some pressure about the quarterback position and what's unknown or known about Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I have them in this scenario not taking Shedeur Sanders or any quarterback for that matter. And then you have teams that could trade up in the back half of the first round. We talk about it every year, even though it has not happened since 2018 with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. It's that they could come up in the end of the first because you want to get that 5th-year option for a quarterback. That will pay off down the road. There's not a team right now in the back half of the first after the Steelers who would draft him in their current position. And so you have the Browns at the top of the second, the Giants, you have the Raiders, right? Even though they just went out and got Geno Smith. A lot of ties there with Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders. And then you have the New Orleans Saints at number 40 overall, that all or one of those teams could trade up into the first and get Shedeur. But in this scenario, in this mock, with Dr. Strange giving you that one, in this mock, he and the rest of the quarterbacks, Tommy, fall outside of the first round.
Okay, so in Jonathan Jones's Earth 616 mock draft, this is the way it's going to play out, JJ. But if we're going to go with that and go different universes here, because we know, again, analyst's job, insider's job in these mock drafts is not only to what you think are going to happen, what teams are going to do at certain positions, but it only takes one team and one GM to fall in love with Shedeur Sanders. So if I were to tell you alternate universe here, someone falls in love, base case scenario for Shedeur, what would that be?
Yeah, I think that the Giants could absolutely move back up into the first round, and maybe they try to leapfrog the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Maybe they try to get up into that 19-20ish range right ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that possible? Sure. Could the Cleveland Browns, having spent so much time on Colorado, right? Certainly with Travis Hunter. I want to be clear, no one has spent more time on Shedeur Sanders than the New York Giants, who have been all over him for some time. So if you're asking me for a team that I think more than likely will take him, I would think it's the Giants. I don't think it will be at number 3 overall. And it could be at 33, or it could be a trade up. But if one of these teams, if one of these GMs really does love Shedeur, and we start getting in that into the first round, and all these guys more or less are the same to them, right? We know about the positional value of quarterback. It is higher than any other position when it comes to value in all of North American sports. You are going to try to get up there to get your guy. And so, look, there's a lot of love for Jackson Dart out there. There's a lot of love for Tyler Shough out there. Some teams like Jalen Milroe, you know that you're not going to start him week 1. And look, for all of these teams, I'm not sure that with any of them that Shedeur Sanders is starting week 1. I'm not sure that Sanders or Dart or Milroe or Shough, any of them are starting week 1. Except, of course, for Cam Ward going #1 overall to Tennessee. So, again, the best case scenario, someone trades up into the first round. Again, I think he gets past the Giants at 3. I think he gets past the New Orleans Saints at 9. And then somewhere above the Steelers, someone gets a little antsy and tries to get up there in front of Pittsburgh.
What would you qualify as a worst case scenario for Shedeur?
I think worst case, if we're talking about worst case, then the worst case would be framed as where is the latest that he would be picked. I find it hard to believe that he goes past the second-round pick of the New Orleans Saints, pick number 40 overall. It's hard for me to believe that, because I absolutely believe that the talent, the value is there for Shedeur at the top of the second round. Look, opinions are going to vary with folks that I talk to, but a lot of teams who, frankly, are not in the market for quarterbacks have put a second-round grade on Shedeur. Well, there you are at quarterback at the top of the second, the first 8 or so picks, first 9 picks. That's where you go get him. And so you try to strip away the name on the back of the jersey. You forget that it's retired out there at Colorado, and you say, who is the player and what sort of difference can he make with our program? And you say, what is our true evaluation of this guy? A number of folks that I talk to tell me that the top of the second round is where they would pick him if they had to. Now, again, they don't have to, because they have solidified their quarterback situation and position. So, again, what is realistic? I think a very, very realistic, probably more realistic than even my mock draft, frankly, is that a team or two gets antsy, trades back up into the first round, and takes some of these quarterbacks, right? I said it hasn't happened since 2018. Well, it may be time for that to change. And so that certainly could happen. So between picks 3 and 40, that's where I have Shedeur Sanders going. How do you like that window, Tommy?
Fair enough. No, I think that's fine. And you bring up an interesting point, though, is because of what some of these teams that were classified as quarterback needy did in the offseason to sort of fill those ahead of the draft. And all of a sudden, perhaps that's why we're seeing someone like Shedeur Sanders have their draft stock fall for no fault of his own, other that these teams already have gotten either veterans or other avenues to fill that. How would you describe sort of the offseason leading up to this week in regards to the quarterback class and what it reflects in terms of maybe this quarterback prospect class as a whole?
Yeah, as of right now, in this exact moment, you would fairly confidently say that there are 2 teams that do not have their week 1 starter on their roster. You'd say it's the Tennessee Titans, who we know in 3 days in Green Bay will then get their week 1 starter on the roster in Cam Ward. And then you would say it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe you want to argue a third team in the Cleveland Browns, but when they went out and got Joe Flacco, when you consider what they traded to get Kenny Pickett, you probably believe that one of those 2 guys, even if they draft a rookie, will get the leg up and be the week 1 starter. And so really it's Pittsburgh. Do you believe that they're going to have Mason Rudolph as their week 1 starter, or is it going to be an Aaron Rodgers eventually, or will it be a Shedeur Sanders or one of these other rookies that they may take there in the draft? And so because of that, because there is not an obvious need for one of these guys, and look, there's a reason for that. The NFL has anticipated that this was not going to be a strong quarterback class in this year's draft. And so that's what we saw last year with teams getting in position, signing guys to 2-year deals, or perhaps in the offseason making sure that they were insulated so they didn't have to reach for one of these quarterbacks. And so that is why in this mock and in this world that I'm currently occupying, these teams have already positioned themselves, Tommy, to not have to reach for a quarterback, and so they don't in the first round.
Okay. Jonathan Jones breaking it down here on HQ. You can also read the full write-up on CBSSports.com. JJ, thank you. Just to further expand on JJ's mock draft, we showed you 1 through 10. Other notable picks here include some of those top 10 picks because some teams have traded back up to pair with those stars, like Emeka Egbuka with the Raiders with Ashton Genty, Luther Burton III in Tennessee with Cam Ward. Again, CBSSports.com, click on JJ's profile, and it is up and ready for you to look.